word. That's like mayonnaise. I'm assuming that's the biggest word I know.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the Blitz NFL player prop projections for Super Wildcard Weekend with Derek Carty of EV Analytics. I'm Tom Viola, and Derek, quite frankly, we need to drop the Super moniker from Wildcard Weekend. It's just Wildcard Weekend now, and that extra game that they add, I still have so much beef with this. The playoffs should still be 6 seeds on each side, not 7, but that is my gripe here. The nice thing is it's an extra game, which means that we have extra opportunities for props because, quite frankly, this is a drastically smaller slate that we're dealing with in the postseason now. We're going to talk about some of the other challenges with those projections, and we're going to have a couple props here. But, guys, with the smaller slate means smaller opportunities, which means we don't have as many as our usual prop market to offer you. So that means that we're going to need your help here. Everybody in the chat, what's up? Andrew Katz, Evan Pelfrey, Milo Kaminsky, John Warder, Peter Lowe, 2 Nichols. Everybody's here. The gang is all here. We're having fun. I see you guys, and we're going to need your help because we're going to need your props, the things that you want to know, the questions that you want answered. We will be here answering all of them for you until you guys are sick of us and ready to leave. So start throwing them in the chat now, and we will get to them as we go once we finish with our 4 props that we have to talk about here. But before we get into those props, Derek, the number one thing this weekend, going to be having a tiny bit of weather out there. It's going to be a balmy minus 30 wind chill in Kansas City, and Buffalo is slating up for another fantastic snow fest. I really hope that we get these 2 weather games because it's always so much fun seeing these snow games, and it's good for betting certain unders, especially in the passing market. And we're going to be looking at some running back overs, but how big a deal is the weather this weekend? How much have you been factoring that into these projections here?
Yeah, the weather makes a big difference. Definitely more in the Buffalo game than in the KC game. Definitely matters in the KC game, but in Buffalo especially, like we're getting, it looks like potentially like real consistent, maybe heavy snow. We're getting, 20-degree temperatures. We're getting 20 to 25 mile per hour winds with 40 mile per hour gusts. Like this is a spot where past games are going to have some trouble.
Yeah, it's going to be really rough. The other problem with it is in the snow, and this can kind of be on the defensive side because the offense, the receivers at least know where they're going. For the defense, you have to read, react, and make your cut, which is going to be even more difficult in the snow. So it does work in balance both ways a little bit, right?
Yeah, it definitely can. On the whole, the numbers show it hurts offense more than defense, but
yeah,
there is that chance, the defender slips and then the wide receiver breaks a huge game. Like that can happen.
And so then the other thing that we have to really keep an eye on, other than the weather for 2 of these games, is as we mentioned, we only have so many games this week. It's much smaller. How does the playoffs and how does this? I suppose the size of the slate isn't really doing anything as far as making projections difficult. But when it comes to the playoffs here, how does the projection game change?
There is some extra variance in the playoffs because during the regular season, teams have to pace themselves. They want to get to the playoffs in the first place. They want to keep everyone healthy. Once you get to the playoffs and it's win or go home, you can see teams employ more extreme strategies. You can see, potentially the stars play more and rest less than they normally would. And so when I create projections for the Blitz for playoffs, I try to lean a little bit heavier into, the playing time for the stars, but there is definitely more uncertainty than we have in the regular season.
Definitely. And the good thing there is, at least with that uncertainty comes a certain degree of certainty of like players are going to try and play more. Yeah. You're gonna expect more out of the stars, and maybe that means that you're gonna have guys on the field for a little bit longer. You're gonna have some extra opportunities there for the big name players, but also it could mean there's some guys on the other end of the bench, the guys who maybe aren't seen all that often, but all of a sudden you're pulling stuff out of the playbook that people haven't seen before. Maybe we get some action from some of those guys as well. But we've got a couple props to get to here, and Al Mello 95 says he's in Buffalo and will be at the game. Oh, layer up, my friend. Best wishes.
Good luck with that.
Did you see the weather advisory in Kansas City? They're saying like don't have uncovered skin out in Kansas City right now
longer
for
than
more
30
than like
minutes
30 minutes.
to get frostbite.
You just know the first thing we're gonna see on the broadcast is some dude completely shirtless with a 15 painted on his chest.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, like, that is just football fans are built different. All right, let's get into some of our props, and then we see you guys in the chat. Mark H, good afternoon. Quay Lunat, salute, ready for the playoffs. Yeah, let's get, we see you in the chat. We will get to those, your questions as well, but let's start off. We're looking at our first prop here, Derek, and we are going to James Cook in the receptions market, though. Going to a little bit of the running back passing game here. What are we seeing out of the Bills versus the Steelers? What are you seeing out of James Cook here?
Yep, we are looking at the under here, under 2.5 receptions, plus 125 at Bet Rivers is our best line right now. Blitz is projecting a little bit less than 2, and we're getting it at good plus money at a lot of books. This comes down to a few different things. So I should mention, as you know, I do plays for Unabated. I do stuff for covers. On the cover show earlier, I threw out Josh Allen. I said Josh Allen was the best play of the week. Josh Allen's completion unders. It was 19.5 around even money or so. So if that's still out there, go get it if you haven't yet. But basically, this game is going to be terrible for Buffalo passing offense. At least it should be for a lot of different reasons. First, we have the weather. Of course, the weather is going to be bad. But since they fired Ken Dorsey as their offensive coordinator, they have gone much more run heavy in general. With Dorsey, they were, I believe, 11% above average in terms of their pass rate in a neutral context. And since they fired him, they've been 4% below average. They've actually been more of a run heavy team since they have made that firing. They've been less efficient in the pass game. And this is a spot where they're going to be playing from ahead, most likely. They're 10-point favorites, and they're going to be playing in the snow. So everything lines up here for them not to be passing the ball very often. So for that, we like Allen's under. I like Cook's under here, especially at plus money. And this game projects as the slowest pace game of the week because Pittsburgh's going to want to run. Buffalo's going to want to run. The clock's just going to be running. This projects for very low volume overall. And so I like a lot of unders in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it is so funny because what we've seen, and you hit the nail on the head with Ken Dorsey not being there, what we've seen out of this Bills team in previous years is pass no matter what. They did not have the running game. They did not have the ability to go to the ground, really. They refused to use Devin Singletary. They refused to do anything on the ground. And now that is completely changed. And part of that is, I mean, James Cook is a fantastic running back, and they actually have the ability to go and do this. It's very much an interesting evolution for this Bills offense of being able to run it and pound the rock when they need to. And yeah, a game like this in the snow, it is probably going to skew a lot more run heavy. I like all of the fading of the passing yards on this one. Next up, we've got another. Continuing with that vein of fading the passing yards here for Buffalo. We're going to Stephon Diggs reception market here. And what a shock. We've gotten under in this one as well.
Yeah, who would have guessed? Blitz is projecting a little over 4. Most books are, actually, it's a mix. There's 5.5s, there's 4.5s. The 5.5 under 5.5 minus 135 at DraftKings. That's the line we'll take for the record. But like if you look at FanDuel, the 4.5 plus 118 is showing very similar value. It's up to your kind of your risk preference, but it's the same thing. We expect Buffalo's passing attack to not be very good here. If they are playing with that 10-point lead, especially in those conditions, there's not going to be any reason for them to want to throw the ball, potentially, have it slip out of Josh Allen's hand, throw a pick. They're just going to want to just get in and get out, keep the ball, run the clock. And that's what we're hoping for here.
Tyler Jackson says ESPN's 4.5 is a plus 140 if you want to take that.
That's going to be the best line on the board then. 4.5 plus 140 is definitely going to be the best.
We were also seeing when the James Cook one, the market was already starting to move, but we got some plus 110s out there, some stuff like that. Just be mindful of it. Plus 140 on that ESPN one. That's a pretty good one. Thanks for that shout out, Tyler. And then let's go to our next one here. And we're not going to be fading the run game here. Significantly different climates we're going to be looking at in this Rams game. And we are going to Kyron Williams here who has very much been a fantastic addition to this Rams offense. We're looking at his rushing attempts.
We are. We're looking at his under, though, because everyone knows Kyron Williams has been great, and he's gone over this number several times. But 20 carries for a running back is a huge, huge number. Even with the kind of workload that he gets, this is still a big number for him to get to. It's not just the Blitz. I looked at a bunch of other projection systems too. Most have him under here. It's just a high number, and the projection comes in lower. It's really as simple as that.
And another thing is, if there's any game that figures to be a potential shootout here, I think we're in for the Matt Stafford, Jared Goff show in this game.
For sure. That's definitely part of this projection. Like, it's indoors, it's in a dome, it's going to be back and forth. There shouldn't really, hopefully not, shouldn't really be a lot of time where, LA's just running the clock in the fourth quarter. It should be a game where each team has to keep their foot on the gas pedal.
We've got ESPN 19.5 at -125. Tyler Jackson, our registered ESPN bet reporter here. He's going with that. Now we've got another interesting one here. We're going for our final prop before we just open it up to your questions here. We're going to Mason Rudolph, but we are going to his rushing yards. So we're going to switch over to EV Analytics for this one. But we're looking into the Mason Rudolph rushing market here. He does have a little bit of the ability to scramble if he needs to, and that certainly might need to come into play against this Bills defense.
Against the Bills defense and in the snow, there's definitely the chance here. I was debating a little bit. There's the Rudolph rushing yards over 4.5, even money at 365 is the best line. There's also his rush attempts market that looks really good, over 1.5, heavily juiced. You can take your pick. I'm going to put the rushing yards on the record, but they both look really good. It's a spot where in the snow, we might need to see him scrambling a little bit more. He's a guy who can do a little bit with his legs. He's gone over this in 2 of his 3 starts. So the Blitz, the implied projection looks a little weird when you see it's a 4.5 line. That's because of the way quarterback rushing yards work and the way the distribution is. But essentially, the Blitz is projecting about 6 yards over the line is what it comes down to. And so at even money, that is showing good value. Projects to win about, I can pull that number up. Let me see. Projects to win, lost it, 70% of the time. 70% of the time. So definitely a good one here.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for us as far as what props we have to bring everybody. Only 4 on the slate because, again, it's a small game sample here, people. We don't have the same luxury that we had on the wonderful 12-play weeks that we've had during the regular season. But now's the time. Throw in your questions. We will be here answering whatever you have until you run out of questions for us. We've already got a couple in here. Robert Kordiak wants to know, this is an important one here. Does Cedric Tillman being out create any opportunities for Browns receiver props? I definitely think that they'll be thankful they're not going up against old Peanut Tillman in this one. John K. asks, CJ Stroud longest completion over. Cleveland's susceptible to big plays being one of their weaknesses. What do you think about that? That's not really a market that we normally look at with the Unabated simulator. Also, Chad Martin on the Twitter side, I see you there. We'll answer that one in a second.
Yeah, so the Blitz doesn't actually project longest completion. Something I can look into at some point. So I don't have anything concrete to say about that. I do know that the Blitz likes that game in general, especially the passing attacks. It's in the dome. It's 2 very fast-paced offense. It sees a lot of plays being run there. So certainly plenty of opportunities for it, but I don't have it projected out.
One that we do have projected out here, Khalil Shakir on the Bills, under 2.5 receptions. Chad Martin says it looks solid. And yeah, we like fading the Bills passing attack this week. He just wants to know, is Gabe Davis out in your projections? I'd imagine the answer to that is already yes.
Yep, Gabe Davis is projected out. So as you can see, Shakir under definitely showing some value, as you'd expect, because, it's just about the whole Bills offense and game environment in general. You have to decide how heavy you want to go on what is essentially one, kind of one angle. But, Shakir is certainly in the mix if you want to go heavy on it.
It's true. That's something to really keep in mind about correlation. Because even if you're making 2 bets that aren't together, even if you're not parlaying, you're still correlating when you play a whole boatload. If you play Josh Allen under passing yards and under passing completions and receivers under reception markets, you might be doing all of those individually, but there's a very heavy correlation involved, and you're much more likely to win all or lose all, or win most or lose most of those. And that is something to keep in mind with how much you want to stake and how much you want to risk on these. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. It just means that you need to be mindful and maybe scale back the amount that you're putting down on them, because you're going to be naturally overbetting your edge if you just play these as if they were all completely uncorrelated and unrelated.
Yep, that is an excellent point. That's what I was trying to make, and you said it much better.
That's what I'm here for. I got to help out somehow on this show, man. Andrew Katz wants to know, what is the Mason Rudolph rushing attempts projection? I feel like you already mentioned that a little bit at the 1.5 there.
Yeah, I kind of jumped on it quickly and then back off, so we can look. So the attempt projection is about 1.5 over the implied projection, which is definitely something. You're paying heavy juice for it, but it's still showing really good value. So, it's your choice whether you like the attempts or the yards. They both project really well.
Running down the list here, because we got plenty of questions. You guys are doing great bringing these in. We're going to get to all of you, I promise. Curtis Victor says, Derek, bad weather, Kansas City favorite, Mahomes over 4.5 rushing attempts. What do you think?
We can take a look at Mahomes and see what we're dealing with here. So it looks like the Blitz is projecting 4.5, almost on the nose. So very little value, if anything, maybe a little bit of value on the under, at least the way it's projected here.
By the way, guys, we got 120 people watching the show on YouTube alone right now. 30 likes. Thanks for hitting that like button. If you haven't yet, be sure to hammer that real quick. We appreciate it. Milo Kaminsky is next up. He says he likes Devin Singletary over longest rush. They tend to give up some big plays. This is the Browns game there. Tyler Jackson wants to know, how much is the Blitz factoring in the extreme cold in Kansas City? Was wondering about Tyreek's 86.5 reception yard under.
Yeah, so I was actually looking at some Tyreek's earlier. I think his receptions is showing more value than his yards. Like, yeah, you can see some good value here. You can take a look at his, oh wait, wrong tab. All right, now you can see it. This is Tyreek. You can see definitely some value on his under receptions. We can take a look at the yards real quick too and see how that comes out. Not quite as much. Yeah, so the receptions is the one you would want to hit if you're going to do it. Cold doesn't matter as much as wind, but when it gets as cold as we're going to see in Kansas City, it does matter. The Blitz's model for it it looks like right now we're looking at about 0 degrees basically at game time. At 0 degrees, it has similar impact to like 20-ish miles per hour of wind, which is definitely, somewhere people start taking notice and where we really start noticing it in projections. Like it matters. It's not, I do feel like it's maybe a little overblown by the public, but you can still see there is definitely some value on the under here. I should note, I'm projecting Jalen Waddle in at the moment. So if Jalen Waddle is out, Tyreek's projection would go up and that under would be less appealing.
Yes, definitely. The other thing with Tyreek's unders here, if you want to go into the reception market over the receiving yards, is if there's any player who's prone for a big break play, it's Tyreek. And so you could see him go under 6.5 receptions, but still just kill it on yards because he breaks open a 70-yard run. Yeah,
exactly. And that's part of the reason why the receptions, I like betting them more than I like betting yards.
Mm-hmm. Peter Lowe wants to know, 2 weeks ago with Stroud back, he went in on Nico and ran it back last week. Is Nico Collins overvalued this time? And is Schultz undervalued?
Yeah, so it's going to depend on the injury reports for them. Like right now, we don't know the status of Noah Brown and Robert Woods. If they're both out, then obviously we're going to like Collins and we're going to like Schultz more. It's looking like Woods is probably trending towards playing. He's practiced the last couple days, limited. As far as I know, Noah Brown has not practiced yet, unless he practiced today and I haven't seen it yet. But it's going to depend. So if they're both out, then yeah, Nico and Schultz both look really good. We can look at Nico right here. Right now, not showing a lot of value. At the moment, the Blitz is projecting Woods in and Brown out. We can look at Schultz. Oh, Schultz is looking really good, actually.
Ooh, wow.
Um, but yeah, again, this is with Noah Brown assumed out. So if Noah Brown is in, that's going to drop, not going to be as much value on the over. That's kind of why I shied away from these, just because there's so much uncertainty with the injury situation with them. But the Schultz one, I mean, that looks really good.
Yeah, that Schultz one looks promising. But again, wait on these, get the final injury reports once we know more about Noah Brown and what's going to be looking like for this passing attack. Next up here, we have Mark H. We already talked about Nico Collins receiving yards. How about Amon-Ra St. Brown overs? What do you think about him? The Sun guy.
I would imagine that's going to be one where we're showing very little value. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, a little on the under, but not a lot. That's like a no bet for me. We can look at his yards. Really, what it comes down to is that, I mean, the Blitz projecting 98 yards for Amon-Ra.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of yards. And there's only slight value on the yardage over just because of the way the distributions and everything work. Like, there's nothing about Amon-Ra St. Brown that the market really isn't accounting for. Like, he's consistent. He does the same thing. He's really good. The market knows it. Yeah, it's fun to bet the over on the stars, but there's usually not a lot of value doing it because the market knows everything it needs to know. Yeah.
You're paying that star tax on their overs.
Exactly.
Next up here, let's see. Jim Robinson wants to know, what's up, Jim? Ooh, I'm on the struggle bus here right now. Najee Harris, alts, worth a look. 20 plus attempts, plus 300 at Caesars, back-to-back 25 plus games and run script in the snow. Interesting.
Yeah. So plus 300 was the over 20.
Yes.
So the Blitz is projecting 17 here. Part of that is because the play volume in general for this game is down, but it is possible. I mean, we've seen in snow games before that teams come out and they're just like, we're not going to throw it at all. I mean, last week, Mason Rudolph, it was a normal game, and he not only he threw more than 10 yards down the field, like he was just throwing at the line of scrimmage the whole game. They might come out in the snow and say, you know what, we don't want Rudolph to throw it all. He's going to throw 10 times, and Najee's just going to carry the ball 30. Like that is in the realm of possibility. So I mean, we can pull up the.
Yeah, I've actually got it up on my screen right now. Real quick, what do you have for his rushing yards?
Let's take a look real quick. 72.
Okay. So off screen here on mine, I am looking at it, and we are looking for rushes. We're looking for 20 plus. Not a lot of value on that plus 300. Based on our projections, what Unabated's prop simulator is saying is the price should be plus 380.
Okay. But keep in mind, extreme games like this, there is more variance in the way teams can approach them.
Yes. Next up here, we've got Michael Hershkowitz wants to know Jordan Love rushing attempts.
Yeah, that's one I think the Blitz. We can take a look. I think the Blitz liked a little bit. Yeah, so the Blitz over 2.5 plus 135 at 365 looks like it's the best line. The Blitz is about half a carry over, so at plus money, that certainly looks like some potential value right there.
Yeah, very nice there. John K says, any value in the weekly leader markets for passing, rushing, receiving yards in a high hold, like multi-way market like that? My gut instinct is to say no.
That's been my gut as well. I've never looked into it just because I suspect there's not much edge there. But I can't say for certain.
Yeah. RW fan 23, Rashad White under 3.5 receptions. He's got it at plus 120 and wants to know if that's playable.
Oh, it's definitely playable. I did that one with covers earlier. So that's why, I don't want to double up on plays between different places, but we can show, I mean, massive value.
You should switch tabs real quick.
Oh, I keep forgetting what tab I'm on. Here you go. Massive value.
Oh, yeah, that is great.
Yeah. I mean, 4 receptions is just a lot for any running back to get. When you get it at plus money, I ran my results from this season. Anytime I've suggested running back under 3.5 lines, I think are like the most exploitable for running back props. Under 3.5, I've put out there publicly 11 times this year. It's won 8 of those times that I've recommended it. usually at plus money. It's just 4 receptions is a hard number for a running back to get to.
Yeah.
Especially one like Rachaad White. It's not like he gets Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara, like 20% plus target shares. Like he's a guy, he's going to get a 12% target share in an okay offense. Like it's just, there's potentially some weather issues in this game too. Not as extreme as the other ones, but
there's also issues with Baker Mayfield's health.
Yeah, that too. So this one I like a lot. This is one of the best props of the week, I think.
All right. Well, there you go. Guys, keep throwing your questions in. We have a couple more to get to here. If you keep throwing them, we'll keep going until my voice gives out, which may be very soon. I am dealing with a cold right now. Man, everyone's getting sick right now, and I feel like I haven't been healthy in weeks. But we've got M. Rojas here. Says, what's your approach for first TD? He likes Elijah Moore at 14-1. Again, this is a multi-way market with a very high hold. It's going to be a lot of variance, and it's going to be very tough to beat. The way that I like to approach first TD markets is I'm not being incredibly scientific about it, but the only time that I'm ever looking and I'm ever trying to do it, I'm not trying to guess who's going to score the first touchdown. I'm just looking at the odds and looking at who's mispriced. If there's someone who's going to have a more significant role in the offense, who's going to get more of a target share or a red zone target share, and they're not really being priced that way on first TDs, like if there's a tight end that doesn't really catch many passes, but he gets all of his looks in the red zone, that's someone who I might look to because they're good. They're going to be priced based on their involvement in the offense. And well, you might have a slight edge there. I don't know about any specific one, especially Elijah Moore at 14-1. It's interesting, but I have certainly no scientific opinion on it.
Yeah, my approach is generally to avoid the market in general for the same reason you said. Like anytime, the more basically rule of thumb for betting, the more popular a market is, the less edge there probably is in it. And people love to bet touchdowns. People love to bet touchdowns. They love to bet first touchdowns. And so in general, you will be able to pick off bad lines on occasion, especially like the process you described is kind of, if I ever look at it, that's what I'm looking for too. But generally speaking, there's not much edge there. The lines are not set fairly. You're not getting good odds, and they're not worth betting if your goal is profit. If your goal is fun, then sure, go for it. That's what most people are betting them for. But for profitability, not the best market in my opinion.
Definitely. Bro KGB wants to know doomsday scenario, but this is an interesting one to think about here. The Eagles game, Marcus Mariota, any kind of projection for him just in case Jalen Hurts gets Jalen hurt?
I have not looked at it at all yet. I mean, I will be able to project that if that comes to pass. I would have to think Hurts is going to do everything he can to play.
Yeah,
but that would be interesting if he's out and Mariota is in. I mean, my guess would be that we might see a little value on Mariota overs, especially if AJ Brown plays, just because that's what we've seen this year. When backup quarterbacks come in, the market tends to be set too low on them because people are like, oh, this guy's bad and no one wants to bet his over. And then the over is what has the value. But that's pure speculation at this point.
Peter says he was seconds away from winning the double Detroit parlay when the refs, oh God, when the refs had that call. That was a rough one in the Dallas game. That really did suck. Peter, I feel your pain there. That's a rough one. All right. Guys, throw any last minute questions that you have in. If not, I want to remind you to head to unabated.com. You can use the Blitz projections. Derek, if you click that little drop down menu right there where it says the Blitz, you can click on that. And it's going to take you directly to get your own Blitz subscription so that you can use Derek's projections. They'll automatically upload into the simulator, and you can hunt for all of your own edges, find your bets. I'll tell you, literally, all of my prop betting so far this season, and we've had a very profitable season on NFL props, everything I've done has been using the Blitz projections in the Unabated simulator. You're making money because you're betting smart. You're not just taking the opinion of someone who's eyeballing the games. This is a math-based approach to player props. We've gotten a proven ROI here for you. I know it's a smaller sample size because it's just one season, but hey, we'll hopefully be back with the show next season and we can just continue that and continue showing you how good it is. But for now, let's see what we've got here. Boglor. Oh, what's up, Boglor? We haven't seen you in the chat all day. I was getting worried, my man. Possibly more than you have to go into here. But how do you maximize the same game parlay bonuses offered for the playoffs? I don't know, Derek. Do you do any work with the SGP bonuses that some places give out?
I don't do a lot with that. I mean, his next message is you just take 2 or 3 blitz projections and parlay them together. Like
That'd
that's
be my
probably
answer.
what I would do. I mean, double
Yeah.
check that you're getting good odds on it, but I mean, parlays can be profitable if you're doing plus EV plays to begin with and you're getting fair odds.
Right.
And actually, it can help, because every sports book has an algorithm to try to detect who the sharp bettors are, who the square bettors are. And I mean, I can't say 100%, but it seems like, most of the people doing parlays are square bettors. And so if the books see your account doing parlays, might be harder for them to flag you as a sharp and limit you. So just something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Two Nichols wants to know Mahomes attempts under was 35.5 at even money earlier this week. Now it's 34.5 at minus 122. Any value left on that, or is that market gone?
I actually did that one on covers earlier. It's as low as 33.5 at some books, and I took the over. I
Okay,
think,
so there you have it.
yeah.
Maybe start looking towards the over because the way that market has gone here. Cade Dawes wants to know, and we're going to break out the prop simulator again for this one, Derek. Nico Collins. We've been loving Nico Collins today. Plus 100 yards.
Let's pull up his projection and the simulator, and we can figure that out. So 91, over 100 yards. What was the number?
He just wants to know what the odds should be.
Oh, the odds should be. Okay, so we're at 90. We can pull it up real quick. 95.5 and about 6.
Chad Martin says that a syndicate hit the Mahomes pass completion under, which brought the line down.
Oh, well, I'm fine with that. I think they're on the wrong side. We can share the simulator, 5.98 and 91.5 roughly. All right, so fair odds for over 100 yards.
Plus 166.
Plus 166 for over 100.5.
So there you have it there, Cade. RW Fan 23 wants to know Jameson Williams over 2.5 receptions.
No, I actually like the under on that. The line has moved a little bit where I got it at plus 140 earlier. We can see what the best line is now. Plus 124, still some value on it. I mean, Laporte is going to be out and Khalif Raymond is going to be out, and we expect this game to be kind of back and forth. But Jameson Williams is just a guy that there's more hype than actual substance on him at this point until he actually starts performing. He just hasn't yet. His role has gotten a little bit bigger towards the end of the season, but it's not massive by any means. And there are lots of other guys that they feed the ball to. So it's just the Blitz likes the under here at plus money. Once it gets closer to even money, then it's more of a no play.
Yeah. Man, very sad story for them. Like it always felt like we were waiting for him to pop off, and it just has never happened. And at this point, I don't know if it ever will.
And there's also still the chance that Laporta plays. Like he's not officially out yet. So if Laporta plays, then the under has some hidden value too.
Yeah. I'd be very shocked if Laporta plays. This feels like one of those coach things of, there's a chance, but there's no chance. All right. RW Fan also wants to know, is there a show next week? Yes, we will be back for the divisional round. We'll see about the conference championship, Derek. We got to talk about that. It'll only be 2 games, so that might be more of a we come in here, maybe we have a prop for you, and other than that, we're just going to be answering your questions again. That's going to be the format for the rest of the playoffs here, by the way, guys, is we'll have a couple props, and then we're going to be answering all of your questions. Thank you. Like we had 4 props, and we've been going for 34 minutes here. You guys rock. So we'll do that for as long as you guys want us, and then, I mean, we haven't talked about Super Bowl content yet, but come on. We got to do something, right, Derek?
We'll have to figure something out, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll figure something out for that, but we'll get it through the rest of the season. Bro, KGV says, need a cameo from Rufus. We'll see what we can do about getting Rufus on for. I can tell you for sure, Unabated in general, we're going to have Rufus prop content Super Bowl week. Don't worry about that. We'll see about getting him on this show, too. Nico Collins alternate yards at DK is plus 195. We said that should be around plus 160. So, okay, you're getting some value on that. I don't know if you're getting enough value for me to want to bet it, but you're getting some value.
Yeah.
All right, Cade says thank you. Peter says
Oh,
Green Bay.
the other thing with the Nico Collins thing, I would probably hold off on that, especially with the value not being huge, just with the uncertainty of the receivers there. He would go down if Noah Brown plays, remember?
Right.
So
Peter says Green Bay could be a good underdog. Yeah, they definitely could be. We're more of a prop show here, but I could see Green Bay winning that game. It certainly wouldn't surprise me, but at this point, nothing surprises me with the NFL anymore.
yeah, it looks like the Blitz has the Packers right around where the line is. It's +7 right now. The Blitz is around +8, so actually likes them a little bit less.
Then there you go. All right, last question here because I my voice is about to give out. Last question from RW Fan 23. What is the Blitz projection for the fair price on the Super Bowl coin toss, Derek?
Tails never fails, obviously. 85% tails is the projection.
Value,
No.
a massive value on tails here, guys.
Please
All
do
right.
not bet on the Super Bowl coin toss ever.
Yeah. My favorite is when it's at -115.
Yeah.
Like, credit to some places, though. They put up a $20 limit, and they say you can bet it even money. Like,
Yeah.
awesome. Bet the coin flip at even money.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And it's fun, and there's no, you're not losing
True
anything.
odds. Parlay the coin flip in. Parlay the coin flip with everything you can.
Yeah.
All right. That is going to do it for us here. One more time, head to unabated.com. You can use the prop projections, not just for NFL, but also for basketball. Baseball season is going to be coming back. And of course, that means Bad X is going to be back as well. But we've got a little bit of time before pitchers and catchers start reporting yet. But we have prop projections for you. Chad gets one last question in here because he's our Twitter guy over here. He wants to know, how is the Blitz projection with spread and totals, obviously, since it's a much sharper market. So he just is a little bit curious about where you guys are going with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Blitz does have, it projects game lines and everything too. Obviously, it's not showing the kind of value we see on the prop market because they're so much sharper. Like this week, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 slightly positive EV spots. It looks like the Texans are +2 right now. The Blitz thinks they should be -1.5, which shows a little bit of value. But that's kind of what we're looking at here. When me and the guys at EV Analytics ran some tests a couple of years ago, it did show to be profitable. But my focus obviously has been more on props in my day-to-day.
Mm-hmm. And of course, if you want to follow Derek and all of his prop action, head to @DerekCarty on Twitter/X and give him a follow there. You can see all of the other shows he does because you're over on covers. You're not just doing shows with us here. And hey, it's been showing. The value is there. Derek's been the prop king this year. Let's keep it rolling this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. You know the drill. If you haven't liked this yet, please do so. Hit that follow button. Thank you so much for being here. We will be back next week, noon Pacific time, as always, to break down wild divisional round weekend. In the meantime, we'll see you next week, everybody. Best of luck, and let's cash some tickets.